This time, I will cover the basic configuration steps following the installation process. For the command input sections, please refer to the blog post linked in the description. Before watching, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. Receiving emails works without additional configuration, but sending emails requires the send connector to be set up. Mail flow, send connectors, new. Specify the name of the connector. Type Internet, next. Select the default MX record option, click Next. New enter asterisk in the FQDN field. The source server refers to the sending server. Currently, there is only one server, so add that server. Verify the created send connector. Send a test email from OWA. The reason for using an Outlook.com account is that it can receive emails even without DNS configuration. Verify that the email has been successfully received. Next, we will proceed with the virtual directory configuration. Through virtual directory configuration, you can enable connections for various clients, including Outlook. Run the Exchange Management Shell. Refer to the blog post and input the scripts displayed on the screen. For reference, you can also configure this in the Admin Center, but using PowerShell commands is more efficient. Modify the URL according to your environment. Run is reset to apply the changes. This time, we will configure DNS settings. DNS configuration is essential for sending and receiving emails, Outlook connections, and OWA access. First, run DNS Manager on the domain controller. If the domain you want to use is not present in the DNS zone, add it as shown on the screen. For example, when using corporation or .local as the AD domain. Add an A record. The mail record is the address that will be used for OWA. Enter the internal IP address for this record. The autodiscover record is primarily used for connecting Outlook. Similarly, enter the internal IP address of the Exchange server. Next, we will configure the external DNS settings. Since the name server varies by environment, please use the displayed screen as a reference only. Proceed with adding the OWA, autodiscover, and MX records. External emails are received through the MX record. Now, let's move on to the SSL certificate installation. In this video, I'll use the tool provided by DigiCert for its simplicity to install the certificate. The certificate was purchased from GoGet SSL for this process. The certificate type is multi-SAN, not a wildcard certificate. Click Create CSR. Enter the required information for the certificate. Once the information is entered, click Generate. Copy the generated CSR. Paste it into the certificate purchase page. Enter the alternative addresses that were provided during the CSR creation. Click Validate CSR. Typically, DNS and email verification methods are used. I initially tried the DNS verification method, but it took too long, so I proceeded with the email verification method. The DNS verification method involves publishing the record provided by the certification authority to the external DNS server for verification. I configured port forwarding for port 25 on the specified public IP to the Exchange server, and then proceeded with the email verification method. If you create a domain like corporation or .local in a test environment, you must add an accepted domain for an address that can actually receive emails. Add the domain as shown on the screen. Create a mailbox to receive the verification email. As you can see on the screen, the corp domain is still in use. First, I modified the SMTP address in the mailbox properties. However, since it is not practical to manually modify the address every time, the email address policy must be updated. Navigate to the Email Address Policies menu as shown on the screen. Modify the email address format. First, send an email from an external source to verify if it is received. Complete the email verification process on the certificate provider's website. Once completed, download the issued certificate. Complete the process in the Certificate Issuance tool. Once the certificate is issued, export it as a .pfx file and install it on the Exchange server. During the installation, select local machine as the destination. After installing the certificate, you need to perform the binding process on the Exchange server. Run the Exchange Management Shell, and enter the commands as shown on the screen. Use the command get exchange certificate to check the thumbprint of the certificate. Run IS reset. Verify that the certificate is successfully bound by accessing the server from both internal and external networks. In environments where the system is actively used, it is uncommon to keep the database location and the installation drive the same. First, I proceeded with the process of adding a disk in Hyper-V. Current database location. You can also verify this in the Admin Center. Proceed with changing the database name and moving the path using the command displayed on the screen. Verify the results. If there is no separate backup solution, you can reduce the database log size by enabling circular logging as shown on the screen. Logging related to SMTP is only partially enabled by default. You can enable additional logging for mail flow analysis when needed. Depending on the situation, it may not be necessary to execute all the commands shown on the screen. If POP3, IMAP, and outbound proxy are not being used, disable all connectors other than the ones marked as default. Since IIS logs can consume significant disk space, it is recommended to change the log path to a different location. After running IIS Manager, proceed as shown on the screen. Modify the directory for the IIS logs. Verify the results to ensure that the changes have been applied successfully. Simply entering the address will default to HTTP, which may prevent the Exchange OWA page from displaying correctly. Although it may not be necessary nowadays, if you need to configure it, refer to the technical documentation as shown on the screen and run the corresponding commands. Managing the QDB, which temporarily stores incoming and outgoing messages, is also important. Modify the configuration file to change the location. Run the following command. Navigate to the location where the related information is recorded. After changing the path, save the configuration. Restart the Exchange Transport Service. To use the offline address book in Outlook, you must assign the OAB to each database. Proceed as shown on the screen. If the DNS settings and certificate installation have been correctly configured, Outlook should be able to connect. Sometimes, if the test domain is connected to Exchange Online, it may appear as shown on the screen. On Windows 11, the authentication window will appear as shown on the screen. Verify that the connection has been successfully established. With this, the basic configuration of Exchange Server is complete. If you found this helpful, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment.